Okay, hi. It is Read Aloud Saturday, and I like to save books that have to do with the seasons or holidays and read them with my kids when those holidays come up. So today, in the next couple of Saturdays, we're going to share some fall and Halloween titles with you. So today I'm going to read Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper. Remember, I'll show you the pictures after I read. Deep in the woods, there's an old white cabin with pumpkins in the garden. There's a good smell of soup, and at night, with luck, you might see a bagpiping cat through the window, and a squirrel with a banjo, and a small singing duck. What a cute house. Pumpkin soup, the best you've ever tasted. Made by the cat who slices up the pumpkin, made by the squirrel who stirs in the water, made by the duck who scoops up a pipkin of salt and tips in just enough. And here you can see each animal doing his or her job. And then over here is peeking in the window, like we're looking in the window of their little squash house. What do you think a pipkin of salt is? Talk about that. They slurp their soup and play their songs, then pop off to bed in a quilt stitched together by the cat, embroidered by the squirrel, and filled with fine feathers from the duck. And it's peaceful in the old white cabin. Everyone has his or her own job to do. Everyone is happy, or so it seems. And there they are sleeping. But one morning, the duck woke up early. He tiptoed into the kitchen and smiled at the squirrel's special spoon. "Wouldn't it be fine," he murmured, "if I could be the head cook?" He drew up a stool, hopped on top, and reached until his beak just touched the tip of the spoon. Kerplunk! Down it clattered. Then the duck trotted back to the bedroom, held up the spoon, and said, "Today it's my turn to stir the soup." And there he is, getting that soup spoon down. What I really like is how the author used this kerplunk. He actually wrote the words out on the page to make it look like a kerplunk, right? And then down the spoon fell. "That's mine," squeaked the squirrel. "Stirring is my job. Give that back." "You're much too small," snapped the cat. "We'll cook the way we always have." But the duck held on tight until the squirrel tugged with all his might, and whoops, the spoon spun through the air and bopped the cat on the head. Then there was a trouble, a horrible squabble, a row, a racket, a rumpus in the old white cabin. They're fighting. "I am not staying here," wailed the duck. "You never let me help with anything." And he packed up a wheelbarrow, put on his hat, and waddled away. "You'll be back," stormed the cat, "after we've cleaned up." And the squirrel shook his spoon in the air, but the duck didn't come back. Not for breakfast, not even for lunch. "I'll find him," scoffed the cat. "He'll be hiding outside." "I'll bet he's in the pumpkin patch." But the duck was not in the pumpkin patch. They could not find him anywhere. Now, when you look at these pictures, I want you to see, can you see the squirrel in this picture? And then the cat has found some other friends on the pumpkin there. Okay, so they waited all that long afternoon. The cat watched the door. The squirrel paced the floor. "That duck will be sorry when he comes home," they muttered. But the duck didn't come home, not even at soup time. Here they are waiting and waiting and waiting. The soup wasn't tasty. They'd made it too salty. They didn't feel hungry anymore. They both sobbed over supper, and their tears dripped into the soup and made it even saltier. "We should have let him stir the soup," sniffled the squirrel. "He was only trying to help," wept the cat. "Let's go out and look for him." Look at how detailed the photos are in this book. The squirrel's chair has a carving of a squirrel in the back. The duck's chair, where the duck is not sitting right now, has a duck on the back. And the cat's chair has a little cat's head on the back. I really love Helen's illustrations. She's both the author and the illustrator of this book, which happens sometimes, and I think that's really cool. She has a lot of talent. The cat and the squirrel were scared as they wandered down the path in the dark, dark woods. They feared for the duck, all alone with the trees and the foxes and the wolves and the witches and the bears. But they couldn't find him. And there's the little duck. Do you see him? He's singing a tune and carrying his pumpkin. On and on they trudged until they reached the edge of a steep, steep cliff. "Maybe he fell down that," wailed the cat. "I'll save him," squeaked the squirrel. And he scrambled down on a long, shaky rope. He searched all around on the ground, but he couldn't find the duck. Here's what they're imagining happened to their friend: falling off the cliff. Then the cat whispered in a sad little voice, "Duck might have found some better friends." "He might," sighed the squirrel. "Friends who let him help." And the more they thought about it as they plodded back, the more they were sure they were right. So cat and squirrel are feeling like maybe they weren't the best friends that they could have been. And here's what they're imagining: that duck is having a lot of fun with other friends that let him be the chef. Look at that. He has like a little duck restaurant. It's funny. But when they were almost home, they saw light shining from the old white cabin. "It's Duck!" they shrieked, and they burst through the door. And the duck was so happy to see them. He was also very hungry, and though it was late, they thought they would all make some pumpkin soup. When the duck stirred, the cat and squirrel did not say a word. Not even when the duck stirred the soup so fast that it slopped right out of the pot. Not even when the pot got burnt. Then the duck showed the squirrel how to measure out the salt. And the soup was still the best you ever tasted. So once again, it was peaceful in the old white cabin. Until the duck said, "I think I'll play the bagpipes now." Here's the mess the duck made while they were making pumpkin soup. And look at the cat's got pumpkin soup on his head. The squirrel's holding the pot on his head. And down here in the corner, the duck says, "I think I'll play the bagpipes now." And here they are taking the bagpipes away from their friend. And on the back, there's a picture of the duck playing the bagpipes. So that story again was Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper, and that is one of my family's fall favorites. Thanks again for tuning in to Target Tutoring Read Aloud Saturday. Enjoy your weekend.